People often say that love knows no age, that at any point in life, one has the right to seek companionship. But the truth is, when a man enters a new marriage after the age of 50, what lies ahead is not just a warm home or a hand to hold. It is an entire system of complex changes that, if not carefully prepared for, may cost him more than he expects. After many years of living independently or just coming out of a divorce, a middle-aged man often carries a deep longing to be loved again. Not the impulsive kind of love from youth, but a mature, lasting, and profound connection. He needs a companion, someone who can sit and drink tea with him, share silence, and enjoy the simple things in life. But within the peace he hopes to find, there may be things not immediately visible from the start. Marriage after 50 is not a fresh beginning. It is more like merging two lives that already have their own unique shapes. It is not just the connection between two people, but also the collision of two value systems, two family cultures, two long pasts, and sometimes unhealed wounds. The seemingly small things, from financial habits, daily routines, to dealing with children from both sides, can all become seeds of tension if not faced with clear-eyed awareness. The danger is that these cracks don't appear right away. They often build up quietly, creeping into every small choice, every daily interaction. And only when looking back does the man realize what he has given up, how he has changed, how far he's drifted from where he began. It could be his personal freedom, the wealth he's spent years accumulating, the growing distance between him and his children, or the peace he once had. That's why, if what you are seeking is companionship, you need to ask yourself, is the price of that companionship more than what you're truly willing to give up? To answer that question, you must first understand what is happening in the mind of a man over 50 and why this stage of life makes him more vulnerable to risky decisions. At the threshold after the age of 50, a man's psychology enters a quiet but profound transition. If youth is often driven by the desire to conquer, prove oneself, and rise, then this stage marks a clear shift. They no longer seek challenges or breakthroughs, but begin to lean toward stability, safety, and a sense of peace in their own lives. The silence in their mind becomes more precious than the applause out there. Yet, just when they think they are experienced enough to fear nothing, another emptiness begins to appear and grow day by day. It is no longer the fear of failure, but the feeling of being left behind. It's when meals are eaten alone, holidays become unnecessary, and the house suddenly feels bigger than it needs to be. These voids do not show up as sounds, but as prolonged silence. Men after 50 often do not speak of their loneliness. They hide it behind calm eyes, behind brief social conversations, and sometimes in long silences. But inside, they feel it clearly. A quiet space exists, and it is not easily filled. From the need to be cared for, to share, and to feel connected again, they begin to think about taking another step, finding someone to walk with. No longer the intense love of youth, but a bond built on understanding, on shared rhythms, and a sense of safety. However, between the desire to love and the fear of loneliness, the line is often thin. Many enter a new relationship not because the feelings are full, but because the prolonged emptiness makes them not want to be alone anymore. And that very lack of clarity causes them to easily overlook warning signs, to idealize the new person, to see hope in every small thing. The mind then no longer sees with reason, but with expectation. They believe life will be gentler, that sadness will be eased, that this time will be different. But when things move too quickly and aren't built on a truly solid foundation, the very things they hope will heal them can become the source of new wounds. And what's worth noting is that the more experienced a man is, the more likely he is to hide those wounds, never sharing, never speaking, but keeping them inside as a quiet scar. They will keep living, keep working, keep smiling, but inside is a psychological space few can reach. If not recognized and adjusted early on, these very emotions will directly influence the next major decision of their lives. To understand the mistakes in later relationships, one must first go inside the mind of a man at this age, because it is precisely those unnamed emotions that are the origin of every choice to come both right and wrong. And once we understand what is happening inside that mind, we will see why so many men are vulnerable to unexpected risks when deciding to take another step into marriage after 50. When turning 50, many people think the door to love and marriage has closed, but in reality, Some late marriages turn out to be deeper and more enduring. They are no longer impulsive, impatient relationships, but carefully considered choices, full of understanding and responsibility. Marriage after 50 no longer carries vague expectations of someone making up for past shortcomings, but becomes a journey to find a true companion. With enough life experience, people realize that no one is perfect or able to fill old voids. What they need is someone to walk beside them, respect their privacy, share the present, and look together toward peaceful days ahead. Signs of a healthy late marriage are often very clear. First, both partners are financially independent. They don't come together out of need for support, but because they want to fully enjoy the rest of their lives together. They are usually open with each other about finances, have a clear prenuptial agreement to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, and most importantly, to maintain lasting respect. Family approval, especially from children, is also important. When the children are grown, a parent remarrying requires understanding and openness from many sides. A lasting marriage after 50 is often built on this foundation of mutual agreement. Both sides don't try to change each other's past, but learn to accept and respect what has already been. Personal space is also essential. People who marry later in life understand the value of individual freedom. They have their own routines, their own history, and moments of solitude they cherish. They don't live to please each other all the time, but to build a comfortable, peaceful, and pressure-free life together. But it's not always melancholic or gloomy. Someone once said that getting married after 50 was the best decision of their life. They had gone through years alone, sometimes divorced, sometimes widowed, but when they met the right person, they realized love is never too late. No more arguments over trivial things, no more pressure to have children, to build a house, only sincerity, empathy, and the desire to live better together. For those people, marriage is no longer a destination, but a reward, a well-earned reward for patience, for past losses, and for the desire to live fully, even if late, still complete. Jack, 58, retired after more than 30 years as a senior manager at a financial firm. He remarried not long after to a woman nearly 20 years younger. No prenuptial agreement, no clear discussions before starting life together. Jack thought love was enough, but 3 years later, the relationship ended in a bitter divorce. Jack lost 60% of his assets, not just his home, but also the retirement savings he had built over a lifetime. Worse, his children were angry, disappointed, and cut off contact. From a once beloved father, he became someone distrusted and estranged. No wife, no assets, no family bonds. All that remained was confusion and regret. Thomas, 62, chose a different path. After a long divorce years ago, he was no longer interested in a marriage certificate, but he didn't live alone. Thomas had a partner who lived with him in a small house in the suburbs. They had clear boundaries, separate finances, respect for personal space, and no interfering in each other's matters unless invited. Though unmarried, they lived in a strange peace. Children from both sides visited regularly, holding cozy weekend dinners. No major conflicts, no stressful expectations. They weren't tied by paperwork, but by understanding and acceptance of reality. Frank, 55, reconnected with an old classmate at a school reunion. They had feelings for each other when they were young, but life took them in different directions. Now, with grown children and finished careers, they met again with hearts no longer full of illusions, but full of goodwill. Before moving in together, they sat down and signed complete legal agreements, clear on finances, transparent in every major and minor decision. After retirement, they sold some property and pooled money to travel around Europe. Life wasn't luxurious, but it was relaxed and warm. Mornings drinking coffee on the balcony, afternoons walking in the park, hand in hand. They were no longer young, but they had learned how to hold on to each other with kindness. 3 men, 3 choices, and 3 different lives. There's no one right formula for all, but there are lessons we don't have to pay the price to understand. Love can be blind, but legal paperwork must not be, especially when you're about to enter a new marriage after 50, a time when your past, assets, responsibilities, and relationships already have clear foundations. Protecting yourself is not about distrust, but about creating peace of mind and fairness for both parties. The first step is to consult a lawyer who specializes in late-in-life marriages and division of personal assets. This is not general advice, but someone who deeply understands specific aspects such as retirement, premarital assets, inheritance rights. A lawyer will help you shape a complete legal picture and identify potential risks if proper preparation is lacking. Next is signing a clear prenuptial agreement. This document is not meant to keep things separate, but to avoid disputes later. A transparent agreement helps both parties reach consensus on assets brought into the marriage, joint and separate property during cohabitation, and inheritance rights in case one partner passes away. If the marriage doesn't last as expected, this agreement serves as a protective wall against unnecessary losses. At the same time, make sure your personal finances remain separate. You should not combine all bank accounts, investments, or savings into joint property without a clear purpose. This not only helps maintain your independence, but also reduces complications in financial management later. Each person should have their own fund, with clear investment and spending plans for themselves. Another important factor often overlooked is having an honest conversation with your children before remarrying. Misunderstandings and negative emotions from children can linger and cause long-term effects. Explain why you want to remarry, what you've done to protect the family's assets, and reassure them that the parent-child relationship remains a priority. This conversation is not easy, but it's essential to build trust. Finally, don't forget to review benefits related to insurance, pensions, and inheritance. When you remarry, beneficiaries and insurance policies may need to be updated. Pension or benefits from your former employer may change if your marital status changes. Carefully reviewing and adjusting these benefits should be done thoroughly to avoid consequences later. A marriage in adulthood needs to be approached with understanding and responsibility. When you take legal and financial steps to protect yourself, it's not just for you, but also for your partner, so that both can enter a new life clearly, respectfully, and sustainably. Getting married after 50 is not a mistake. It can be a hopeful new chapter, where you are no longer caught up in youthful illusions, but choose to live true to yourself and to what you really need. But if you enter a new relationship without fully understanding what you're doing, without careful preparation emotionally and legally, what you lose may be greater than you think. Not just assets, but also reputation, peace of mind, and sometimes even the family relationships that were already hard to build. Take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, do you want to get married because you truly need someone to love, or because you're afraid of emptiness? Are you choosing someone to calmly and peacefully walk through the years ahead, or are you unconsciously inviting risk into your life? There's no right or wrong answer, only the answer that's honest with yourself. Because in the end, love is beautiful at any age, but loving wisely is what makes it last. You absolutely can love again and be happy as long as you don't lose yourself in the process. Let love come when you're ready, but don't let it sweep you away before you are. There's still a chance to live well. There's still a chance to love someone. Just this time, go a little slower. And don't forget, you can still love again. Just don't lose yourself in the process.